And
Ready?
The mayor
Oh,
owns
this call.
everything.
we're doing the real deal.
All right, welcome everyone to the Finance Committee meeting for February 16th, 2022. It is about 6:32 p.m. Let's go with the roll call. Kathy?
Joe St. John.
Here.
Damon Capel.
Here.
Tim Ghost.
Here.
Marie Knapp.
Here.
John Grumney.
Here.
David Martin.
Here.
Cindy Cooper. Here. 7 present.
Thank you. Okay, let's look at the meeting minutes from January 19, 2022, our last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Martin to accept the minutes.
Second.
Second by Mr. John Grumney. Any discussion? Go ahead, Kathy.
David Martin.
Yes.
John Grumney.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Marie Knapp.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes,
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
very good. Thank you. Okay. Item on the agenda here is the reporting here by Ms. Belcher. Kathy, could you give us just a brief overview of some of the highlights?
Well, I put the highlights on the front. I'm experimenting with different reports because I'm trying to capture a point in time this year compared to last year. And then if you guys like it, then I'll expand it back to do like 1 year back, 3 year back, and maybe even longer if you want. But the general fund year-to-date expenses are up 62.75%. But that actually is because we took the $4 million out of the general fund and moved it down to the capital projects fund. And we've also got the parks funded too. And the general fund year-to-date revenue in 2021 was $256,780, and in 2022 it increased to 326, which is an increase in the revenue of 26.44, which is directly related to income tax, because we have not got a real estate taxes settlement yet. And that was just general fund. If you guys like something like that, if you guys want, I can put it on a graph. I was just experimenting with different things. I also wrote on the OneDrive, there is a year-to-date, month-to-date comparison of year 2021 to 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you like that, I can expand on that. Just let me know what you think.
I do like that. I had that printed out here. I had a question for you about Mayor's Court. I just saw that we had it was 2.21% collected. The average for the first month should be around 8%, so it's down somewhat. Year to date, 1239.50, which would be through January.
And that's just
It's
related
based on
to
activity.
its activity. It's maybe they're slower this month, maybe than they were last year. I mean, we could do a deeper dive if you wanted to. We could find out exactly, what kind of cases that they've had.
I was trying to think about fees. I don't think we changed that for this year, did we?
We did.
No.
It wasn't last year.
We changed it for this year, right? We just approved a fee increase, I want to say in November for this year.
Okay.
Jeff Brooks presented information.
Yeah,
Officer
that's right.
Brooks, with
Oh, yeah,
parking
that's
tickets and
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that started January.
I believe so.
Okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on that one. Hopefully that'll come back up. I didn't see any other glaring issues on that sheet.
I saw income tax, looks like our receipts year to date are outpacing where we were last year.
Yeah.
Especially on the corporate side, from what I could tell.
I think it's just directly related to an increase in the housing,
Okay,
and then the profits are up,
okay.
which
All
there
right.
is that report that you have on your desk too for that.
If I missed something, I'm sorry, but I'm just curious why we have $1.54 at Chase Bank.
Because they paid me interest on closing that account. We had $335,000.
Oh, okay.
And I kept it over there with the express purpose. At one point, I was going to get a credit card through them. We just never could get everything nailed down. I didn't like the interest rate I was earning there, so I moved it. Then they paid me $1.54, so that's not there now either. But it was there on January 31st.
All right.
to that mayor's court question, the amount that we have, the expectation there is 54,760 for the year. Is that based on, was that the same amount we had last year, just carried over?
You're talking about the fund where it starts?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what was left over, but they use that for mayor's court computers, technology upgrades for the mayor's court.
That was already spent.
A lot of it was spent last year, but we still do have money in there.
Okay. I see building permits are coming back up. That's good. Hope that trend continues, right?
Well, once the weather breaks, got a new subdivision. Final platted, so.
Mm-hmm. You had a note here, Kathy, about the sewer fund expense. It's high. The first loan payments are due in January.
Yeah, it looks a lot higher. That's why when you look at it, the expenses look like it's way out of whack for the whole year, but your first loan payment comes out in January. And it was like $435,000 for the year. So it's like 200 and some odd dollars.
We pay 2 times a year,
Yeah.
January, July,
and June.
or June. Okay.
So the first one's January, and they take it on the 1st of January.
Oh, okay. Very good.
And I think next year we'll have the first payment for Little Elm Creek. If I remember right how it's written.
Oh, yeah.
So that will make it look out of whack for a little while.
Okay. All
Can I
right.
ask you a question on sewer fund also? Does Pulte have any more pre-purchased sewer taps? They're all out. So in other words, we're getting the full amount
Yes.
from them. Okay.
And I never Pulte loan agreement. I'd always heard things about that. And that was one of those things that they prepaid some 819 taps. And that's been done since like 2017.
Mm-hmm.
But
That was for all of Sudbury Meadows. right?
Yeah, it dated way before me.
It was basically, we made improvements to the sewer plant. The economy crashed. They're expecting revenue. So Pulte came in knowing they were going to develop communities at Sudbury, prepaid for taps. In other words, made our loan payments, and then we issued credit at the rate they purchased at, even if they didn't develop for 3, 4, 5 years. So tap fees tend to go up by about 3% a year. So they bought it the earlier rate.
I think it was like 2017 was the last one, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to mention? Any other questions from other members about that?
I have questions on that, but you brought up a topic that we've talked about before, and that is getting a credit card or credit card kind of a system in place for expenses. I'm just going to rattle off a few examples where I think this would come in handy. Some of the purchasing that we've done for, I'll say, equipment has been done by the employee, then a reimbursement process. Things that you purchase on Amazon, like signage or Christmas decorations or work equipment, things like that. I would say it's not uncommon even for small businesses to have policies and procedures around credit card use and limits. Dual approval. So somebody's not going to go out and rack up $10,000. You put $500 cap on a card or something. Typically, the way I've seen it is the cards are actually assigned to an individual. You can do it where you have one that's locked up and then somebody uses it, but you can get quite a bit of good accountability by assigning somebody a card, setting a limit based on pay grade or position. And then, if it doesn't meet the reimbursement threshold or like what should be paid, then, there's disciplinary things that tie to that.
Are we reimbursing tax? Okay.
No.
So if somebody's going out and buying something on their personal credit card, Are they
Well,
taking?
with Amazon,
Tax exempt?
with Amazon and Dollar General, we both have tax exempt status there. So that's been like when we decorated the pots, we
Mhm.
have tax exempt at Dollar General now. At Amazon, we have an account. It's tied to a particular credit card that is a tax exempt account. And that one has the village's address.
There's other ones that I think we don't, and that's, I mean, Costco, for
Zoom,
example, is
yeah.
one.
Yeah, Zoom's one right now.
Yeah.
Zoom, right?
And even it would be helpful in terms of when employees or like even that OML
Right.
process, we have to try to work out and have them accept, purchase order and things like that. So it would
Right.
be helpful for those online type classes that either employees or council would need. So
Is it something you guys could research for us and bring it to the next finance meeting?
Is there any difficulty or any downside of doing that? I guess I was a little surprised to find we didn't already have a P card program in place.
We've gone back and forth. Prior administration didn't like a certain way and then it just went back and forth, and we just finally get to a point where I think we can probably do it now.
You think it would be helpful for you all?
I think it would help our own, whoever is doing the reimbursement, yes. So that we don't have to wait for a week or 2 weeks to get reimbursed for something.
I think it provides a lot of transparency too. All of those small purchases are in one place. So rather than reimbursing, everybody and, sometimes the errors and the misunderstandings that come along with reimbursements too, you kind of avoid that. Seems like a really good idea. And then, get that fleshed out and you can tell everybody, don't buy stuff on your own dime anymore, period.
Right.
Which would be a good way to go.
The more like soft benefits are like the rewards program. I mean, we're not an entity that's going to be racking up the balance and rolling it. We're going to be paying that off. That's the smallest benefit. The biggest benefit are like the efficiencies you get when you have officers going to Tennessee for on-the-job training and they're having to pay meals and do reimbursement. I mean, there's like, I'm writing checks to, reimburse colleagues 2 weeks afterwards. They got to track, sometimes like the OML trainings and things we're requesting, Steve mentioned this, we're requesting an invoice or a purchase order or something. So we've got an invoice, then you got a purchase order, then you're issuing a check, and people are like, you could just enter in your card information on the site and we would have to do away with the whole lengthy process.
Okay, let's do some,
Okay.
do some extra research on that. Feel free to, if questions come up, let me know.
Sure.
And then we'll see where we're at next meeting. All right, thank you. A couple other items I had on the agenda here. Impact fee update and a demo grant update. Steve, can you provide that to us?
sure. Impact fees wise, last week, Mr. Neff, Mayor St. John, Carson Bice, and I met virtually. It was an opportunity for Mr. Neff to hear some of the presentation and ask some questions. And that went fairly well. We've asked Mr. Bice to provide us with a comparative table of either Ohio or kind of the central Ohio region on impact fees. And I reminded him of that again today and acknowledged he owes us that. Legislation wise, his response was their goal is the 5th of March, which is a couple days after our meeting. So I did ask him, revisit that with the lawyer side of Tischler Bice to see if that might be available for the 2nd. But,
March 2nd would be our council meeting
Right,
on Wednesday. Yeah, it'd be great to have it all presented by then, so we could maybe have legislation 2 weeks later, right, to consider.
So worst case, it may be the mid-March, the 2nd meeting in March, but I'm gonna encourage him to see if they can't put a push on that to get it a couple days earlier.
Okay.
Won't give you a lot of time to look at it, even if he gets it on the 1st or something. So stay tuned.
March 17th sounds like a good target date.
That way you've got time
that
to look
reasonable,
at it
Joe?
and digest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
The
Right,
demo-
we're not trying to rush that through. This is, I mean, this is a major catch up from where we've been. And I wouldn't even say it's on par with the demand, in my opinion. I mean, everything I've talked to community members is about is like, why didn't we do this earlier? Marie and I are meeting with the director of the BIA. So this is the development communities representation. We're meeting with them in a week or so and I'm assuming this topic will come up. So, and I think they've already discussed it, I believe, in a meeting. Do you know that for sure?
I think it was briefly touched upon.
Okay. So,
I don't think we've had any pushback that I'm aware of from entities or companies or public, have we?
I wouldn't even say it was pushback. The only questions I've had are folks that are already in the process. So, like Pulte and Dove Creek, those folks were like, now I find out about the impact fees, but I think we're evaluating potentially a ramp up schedule that we may do, not just, hey, drop it all in on day one.
And we can make that part of the ordinance, right?
Yeah, we could.
Schedule. Okay. All right. Very good. Anything else on that, Steve?
No, that's about all I had on impact fees.
And how about the demo grant?
Well, it was due last week. It went through a kind of a in-house review. I think it got shared with Department of Development. They came back with a couple more pieces of information that they wanted or documents. I'd given them for instance, the auditor's property card that shows that we own the property. They came back and said, well, we'd like to see the deed. So, go on, get the deeds, copy them off. But I did submit this morning before 8, all of what I felt they needed, with the exception of a conceptual plan for that park, and basically told them, look at this park. It's that one with a little more grass and maybe a different parking arrangement. But so I scribbled up a concept plan quickly for it. And they're meeting tomorrow to decide if there's basically 2 options. One would be with us paying for the asbestos abatement. One would be with that in the grant. They'd received more requests than they had money for. So I was looking at ways that we could show we're trying to help and cooperate. So without the asbestos, the grant would be about $70,700. If they're able to include the asbestos abatement, we don't have a lot in those houses. It's the normal things you would find: ductwork, some insulation ductwork, and a little bit of floor tile in one of them, and a little bit in a drywall on another, but nothing major. If they fund it fully with the asbestos abatement, it'd be about a $75,500 grant, and there's no matching funds other than I told them we will be providing match, because once we get the buildings down, we'll be moving into the pocket parking gateway process of getting it built. There was basically 3 buildings there: 59, 63, and 75. Brownfields are not within the scope of what the county could fund. And so as I looked at that commercial building, as we looked at the background, it felt to be best to take that out. So there's no question that we're dealing with 2 residential buildings that should be nice and clean, other than a little bit of asbestos. So
Has it been necessary to do an assessment of the dirt under the parking lot of where the gas station was?
not yet, no.
Okay.
That'll be after we
That'll come.
hear about
Yeah.
if we were awarded anything, right?
Okay,
And the Department of Development does have some grant funds that might be amenable to that. You know, we've talked about it. We've talked about it with an environmental attorney and our environmental people about how we're going to progress on that, but it's still a work in progress, but definitely want to take advantage of this grant if we can and get
Sure.
two houses down and reseed it and clean it up and then
Mhm.
tackle the last building. And then
Did they give you an expectation of when they were gonna announce it?
they're meeting tomorrow. So I'm hoping yet this week I'll hear something.
Oh, that quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've got a pretty fast timeline where they've got to get it into the Department of Development. So, and I think their timeline's the end of the month, but they're taking a first cut at it tomorrow with Delaware County Land Reutilization Corporation is the name of our land bank here in Delaware County.
And that's in the Ohio Department of Development, right?
Yes, they're the ultimate funding agent. So.
Okay, I hope we get something.
Hey Kathy, while we're going through a couple other topics, can you pull up the auditor site? I have one item I wanted to cover, but
That is all that I had here to discuss. So, yeah, we can do this, Joe. Anyone else have anything?
is there anything finance for the group? I had two things. I'll tie this into finance because there may be some expense related to it. That's my loose tie there.
Where's he gonna go? No.
You want the GIS? Is that what you?
Yes, please, on Golf Course Road. Can we use a couple dollars to fix the audio quality in this room? You know, honestly, here's what I'll say. I don't want you guys to have to do it, you and Steve. Can we just have Tony and another guy come up here, and if like the speakers aren't arranged right, or if we need new speakers or something, I'm having a really hard time hearing you over there, and it could be just me.
Okay.
But I know I've heard it even when guests speak into that microphone, I can't hear them.
and that's within your spending limit, so go ahead and do what you need to do.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody get this
No,
guy a
I'm
credit
serious,
card.
because we need it.
We
Yeah,
do need it. Yeah, we do. And then when I go back and listen to the recording, it sounds like we're screaming into this. I don't know if anybody else has heard. That's why I kind of pushed mine up and out now because it's very loud.
I listened to that one I missed about a month or so ago. It sounded pretty good.
Was it good? All I can hear right now is like the white noise in the
Yeah,
background.
I hear a lot of
There's a
that.
little
Yeah.
crackling going on. Okay, so
Let's do just quick. That's perfect for right now. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the different black lines, but what we're looking at here on your far right side of the screen or the far east is General Rosecrans in the woods. The whole section to the left of GRE or to the west and to the south of the middle school, those are two developments that are coming in. On the north side is Price Farms. On the bottom or the southern side is Golf Course. And what you see on the along Golf Course Road, and we'll zoom into the section of the Mrs. Price property, and that's probably good enough for now.
Yeah, there you go. That's
There we go. Actually, let's move that down a little bit lower. I want to kind of focus on the price. That's good right there. All right, so Golf Course Road, the southern portion is going to be improved and widened slightly by Romanelli and Hughes, who's the master developer for the Rockford home development known as Rolling Hills. And Romanelli was also the master developer of Price Farms, but Pulte's more or less taking the lead at this point. And so I talked to the administrator of Berkshire Township probably 6 months ago. And one of the talking points was just, there's going to be a strip of township road there. I think that's township road. If it's not, it's county road. Right in front of Mrs. Price's house that is not going to be annexed into Sudbury. It'll remain. So the tricky part here is it's not that the developers don't want to do what's right and pave the whole thing and make it all standard from north to south when there's kind of three unique entities here. It's just to do improvements on other people's land, you have to have, access to it. You have to typically control the right of way. You have to typically have the property within your boundaries of your municipal entity. And we don't have that right now. But what we do have is a commitment from Pulte and Romanelli to do the entire construction. And so if you think construction of a road, for those of you who are on services or been on services in the past, it's not just how much does it cost to build the road, it's how much does it cost to secure the easements and do the design and the engineering, permitting, surveying, all of those things as well. Pulte signed up from a financial perspective to cover from the southern boundary of Mrs. Price's all the way to the northern boundary of where our municipal boundary is right there. And that's where Cheshire Road and Golf Course kind of tee. But the reason I wanted to bring it up right now is we're working out terms for a development agreement with Pulte to iron that out. And they want to do the right thing. We want to do the right thing. We don't want to leave Berkshire on the hook for this. We don't want to have a strip of road that doesn't match the rest of it. And we will need a development agreement with Pulte. And right now we're putting together business terms that will cover that. And the only thing they're asking us for is, I'll say for our participation, typically government entities have a little bit more pull with utility companies. If there's utility relocation, if we need to negotiate things with the county or the township, we're going to have a better chance at that than Pulte going out asking for this. So we don't want to slow this up. We'd love to be able to construct this year, make it wider. If anybody's ridden up and down there right now, it's pretty beat up. The township's done some patching on Golf Course Road, but if we don't do it now, the whole road is going to need, completely mill and filled and ripped up and everything. They may be able to salvage some of it at this point.
With this first phase, Mr. Mayor, what do you see the road looking like in terms of number of lanes, turn lanes?
There is, it's going to be two lanes for the most part. I think it's going to be 6 foot wider than it is today. Don't quote me on that, but you're going to get kind of like what you would on Cheshire Road. If you think driving by the middle school, it's going to be more like that. You're not going to have curb drains, I don't believe. So storm drains like you would in any of the neighborhoods around the area.
There was talk a while back about a roundabout at Cheshire and Golf Course. Is that still in the works or not?
Not at the time, no.
Okay.
No curbing, right?
From what I understand, no curbing. There will be a turn lane though. So if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be, if you're heading southbound on Golf Course Road going into Rolling Hills, there will be a turn lane there. Is that right, Steve?
I know that they've widened it, and that makes sense that you would put it.
They were able to push
Left
onto
turn.
Rolling Hills property.
Yeah.
That's why I knew they had the real estate there to do it.
Yeah. I know they widened to 3 lanes, and it does make sense that you would have that on a left turn as opposed to somebody turning right, because that's usually.
Well, 1 lane in each direction
Correct.
with a turning lane as you approach from the north going south.
Right.
Will there also be a turn lane onto Cheshire Road as you're going north?
Not that I believe. No, I don't believe so. They did do a traffic impact study, and I don't believe that was warranted.
Well, it would have been warranted before those houses get built, but after they're built, it probably will be warranted.
Well, they take that into account. Traffic impact studies are
Okay.
gauging like when they open, and then also
Yeah.
the impact of the
All right.
development in the area. The other question is, why isn't there a turn lane heading south on Golf Course going into Price?
Mhm.
Again, I'm gonna, when I say cop out, you know what I mean? I'm just reciting the information I have,
Right.
and that's that the traffic impact study didn't warrant the turn lane there. But it did warrant the road widening and I'll say getting it into roadway standards. It's pretty much in what I would consider like a wider driveway standard.
any change to the Cheshire Road intersection in terms of what's there now with the stop sign? Nothing in the immediate future, right?
Other than there will be a stop sign coming out of Price Farms and north-south will be a continuous movement. No.
Where else, do you have access to Price other than?
You have a north, south, east, and west connection. So let's start with the northern off Cheshire Road coming down. Let's scroll up a little bit.
Yeah.
So see where the drive right there. And if you go north even a little bit more, like the section of road will actually, this is a driveway right now. That's the school driveway. That will be a road, Weatherby Way, named after Lynn Weatherby, former mayor. And that will go south directly.
Oh, that's gonna continue on into the Price property.
Yeah,
Oh,
it'll be
I'm glad to
Weatherby
hear
Way
that.
all the way to the
Okay.
south there.
Gotcha.
Down into the woods.
That's
It's gonna be
pretty
really
much
nice.
split your traffic in half going in and
Yeah.
out of that development.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, not to get off the subject,
Yeah, go ahead.
if, since we have that overhead up, Steve, can you show us where the trail is as well?
Sure.
I'll probably just walk up here.
Yeah,
Can everybody see this one? Okay.
yeah.
Well, I want you to go to this one.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. The trail here starts about right here. This actually, the improvement connects into this path. So that was one question I had was, are they permitted to do improvements on our property? They've accounted for that. So it'll actually connect directly and it'll kind of have a wide connection. So if you're back in this wooded path, it'll cut through here. It goes like this. This is kind of a lower area here. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but comes over here, starts to meander down south. This is actually an active kind of creepy stream here, but it weaves back and forth both like left and right, and then also up and down. There's actually going to be like full-size culverts underneath, so we don't kill any additional trees, and so water will pass underneath the path. It's going to be a really nice path. The path is going to be 12 foot wide. I think it's going to be our widest path that we have.
Yeah, that's good.
It's going to be like Ohio to Erie Trail wide. And I think once it gets back in the neighborhood, it may be 10 feet, but back in this kind of, what I would say the Sudbury portion, the portion that's, this is our property as of probably about a month, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, we're going to take control of that. Pulte's paying for the improvement. And it will, the trail, there's multiple trails in this neighborhood. I'm just focused on the ones that are on our property here. And there's also trails that connect over here from the middle school and then go south into Rolling Hills. While we're on this topic, this is the eastward connection. So this is Millstone Drive. If you're coming from the stoplight or Kroger and going past General Rosecrans, this is a court right now. And this is actually going to be the connection all the way to the west. It'll connect directly to Gulf Coast Road.
Well, right.
So is it gonna be a road through the woods, or are some of those woods going away to build houses on?
Houses and yes to both. It'll be going through the woods and it'll be about this wide. It's already cut if you haven't been back
Oh,
there.
okay, I haven't been back there.
It kind of meanders a little bit like this. It kind of meanders a little bit. Right in this section is what I would consider like the oldest legacy
The center of
wood portion.
Yeah.
There are some
Okay.
trees back there. There's an oak back there that I want to say is 6 or 8 foot wide. I mean, it's like 150 years old.
We preserve that.
Is,
Yeah.
coming down past GRE, you see that.
This will connect all the way over here. And then this is back to golf course. There is a
You're probably
southbound
familiar
connection
with that
to
driving
golf
in the
course.
community that
And golf course has
water
2
feature there.
entry access points, well, 3 if you include the one that goes into Price. One will be to the main road. You've probably seen that if you've driven on a golf course. The other one will go into Sudbury Meadows to the south right here. And then there's the northbound connection into Price Farms. Actually, we probably have a zoning map on the website.
Yeah, I think they're ghosted in on the zoning map now.
They are. Can we get a village of Sudbury?
Mayor, can I ask one question real quick? So I know living in Sudbury Meadows, we did not have a stoplight for the longest time coming out there on the Route 3. And then there was, of course, a tragic accident that happened and it's kind of a catalyst. So for these new developments, are there any considerations on having traffic lights for some of those congested areas before, and rather than just stop signs to try to prevent a future, accident like that or?
The stoplight for Sunbury Meadows on Route 3 was dictated by ODOT. We didn't have any say in that. They do it according to traffic counts.
Yeah.
So that's why that was.
It seemed interesting. It seemed like as soon as that accident happened, that traffic count click must have happened.
Yeah,
That happened at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Communities was coming up at exactly the same time.
Right, yeah.
They opened other side.
Okay, so.
That was, the fatality was a factor in the pace at which that was gonna happen. That was always going to happen, but there's always a post-fatality review done by both public safety officials, including fire department, EMS, police, ODOT. We had one over here on 37 this past year. There's a very in-depth analysis that goes in, and what they do is they say, okay, when was the last traffic impact study? When is this slated to go in? Can it be accelerated to this year? The only say we had in it at the end was kind of the aesthetic piece. So you may notice the difference between Galena's stoplights or Plum Road versus, we have the Sunbury kind of black with the acorn lights and things.
I just know that prior even the communities of Sunbury coming in, trying to take a left on Route 3, even before the community centers came in, was a risky proposition.
It was rough.
At least for 4 hours out of the day, 2 hours in the morning,
Yeah.
2 hours in the evening was always a gamble. So I just didn't know if there was, if it's all driven by ODOT, then that's out of our hands, but I didn't know if the traffic impact study had any.
Well, now that we're a city, we have a little more say in it. But when we were a village, it was strictly ODOT's thing.
Yeah, so right away is, I'll say owned by certain municipalities. When we were a village, state routes were right away of the state, right? And so you think State Route 3, that's why Dave was mentioning, that was really in their court. And we've got County Road and Township Road, and now we've got City Road that all kind of join there. The bottom line is this, the traffic impact studies are very scientific. They take into account existing traffic flow, and then they extrapolate that data based on other data sources and say, what needs to go in, to make this intersection not fail within 10 years. And so they look like 10 years out from the time they do it. And if there's an improvement that needs made in 10 years, but not in 5, they make them do it on day 1.
Okay.
That's how traffic impact studies work.
When I was village administrator, we put a stop sign in at High Street and Route 3 that had the flashing red lights on it. And I called the county engineer to ask him about the stop sign opposite, because that's coming off of a road that wasn't in the village. And I said, could you guys put a flashing red light on that one? And he said, according to ODOT regulations, the county was not allowed to put red flashing lights on a stop sign unless there had been 15 accidents in a 5-year period. So that was part of how they did their count for what they could do with their safety measures.
That must have happened at Lewis Center and Worthington Road. If you've ever come south on Worthington Road, going to Polaris, that intersection is scheduled to be completely overhauled. I think this year.
That used to be a treacherous intersection.
But you can see the overlay of the properties now, and maybe I'll just go back up. It's a little bit small. Can we zoom in one more knot?
Yeah,
We'll take it south.
I don't know. We'll see if it spins itself again. No.
All right, that's perfect. All right, so here's Sudbury Meadows, the line right here. And then you see the connection. This is the direct connection into Golf Course Road. Again, there's a connection. This is all rolling hill / golf course. They've got a connection that goes into Price Farms. You've got this over here, which doesn't directly line up with Cheshire Road. And you also have this. And the reason this is not platted is because this is still school property and not platted for Magnolia Park or the future road right here. And then this is where it dead ends today. General Rosecrans, our current Woods baseball field, things like that. And then this is the new property that we want to move.
So the northbound side of Golf Course Road is in Sudbury. The southbound side of Golf Course Road is in Berkshire Township. So do we have to get them to sign off on improvements that we want to make to that road?
We're gonna find out. I know they want us to do
Okay,
them, so they would be a party to this agreement potentially.
yeah, they could be, and they've been known to be in the past. That's why I asked that question, but
They've got a pretty collaborative leader over there right now. When I say leader, I don't mean elected official. I mean, their administrator he's good.
Yeah.
Their elected officials are good too. I don't know if we've got the third trustee position that way.
nobody yet.
Nobody yet.
They're going to court over it.
So they're about to go to 60 days, huh?
Yeah, they have, actually, they couldn't. I know one of the people that's being considered for it, and in order to replace, one of the people that got elected moved out of the township. And so they had to replace him. Well, when they voted on who it was going to be, it was a 1-to-1 tie. And so they actually end up having to go to court for a judge to hear. And then the judge will decide who the third trustee is going to be.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, well, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Mayor, on that topic or any other topic?
Thank you.
Okay, it is 7:15. Any further discussion? Anyone?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Martin to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Capel. Any discussion? Go ahead, Kathy.
David Martin,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Goes,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Marie Neff,
Yes.
John Grumney,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Thank you.